A very good morning. Check this out. Let's do a full zoom. Welcome back, everyone. We are Tuesday, the 16th of September, 2025. Bit windy up here, but if you have a look, hopefully you'll be able to hear me. See a few trails in the sky. So maybe is it the beginning of the program, the spring program. Still waiting for some results. But look, trail in the area of the white haze approaching. And if I go back, it's a very reoccurring thing I keep on seeing. You start to see small trails and then you've got the big cloud that comes in to fruition just behind it. There we go. Right, we'll see what happens for the rest of the day. I think this might be coming over my direction. Right, I think it's worth checking out the humidity so far in the southwest. Sorry if it was a little bit windy, but what I want to do is just look at the colour code at the bottom and let's see what the percentage of humidity is. And just to show you, right at the bottom here, I'm going to put an arrow. So I'm taking this from 30,000 feet and the humidity is right there. Okay, right, so let's have a look where we are. So southwest, bang, right in the centre. This area to the right where it says Bath, I would say it's about 50%. 50, bear off 60%. So the humidity is too low. In theory, going by the mainstream media, the percentage of humidity is too low for trails to persist in the sky. However, let's point the camera up. Remember a short time ago, I was showing this cloud started to approach and we had a few trails started to pop up in the sky. You got a few of them like really faint. There's a few of them, they're quite faint. You can see them in the background there. Overall landscape's pretty good, but we have this approaching white mass, and once again, like I said in the previous clip, every time you see this, like a white haze or white cloud, you'll get trails formed in that area, and you'll see it in the beginning and in the mix of the cloud itself. So the humidity is low, but bear in mind this cloud is a lot lower than that trail is. Okay, because otherwise if that was the same altitude you'll see a line being cut through it like this, but you don't. So is it the start of the spraying program? Look, you can see it's so faint. It's so faint. So these trails are pretty much at the same consistency. So remember this when I said like, all the trails are different. Thin, small, long, big, thin. It really is a mixed bag. But we have a very thin trail. Very thin. So let's see for the remainder of the day. Might be a short video. It's supposed to be okay today. It's been pissing down with rain for the past week, couple of weeks. Torrential rain. Sort of made up for it for the summer. But is it going to block out the sun? Right, a short time has passed and look, we got trails in the sky. Obviously we have the big white blanket of, well, kind of looks like cirrocumulus. It's going a bit bubbly. If I zoom in, see all that bubbliness there? That's cirrocumulus, a very typical sign. And we have the trails, look at that. And we have another trail, nice one. And we've got another one forming. I tell you what, should we track that aircraft? Go on then, I've got nothing else better to do. Right, this aircraft right here, I do believe that's the right one. Yes it is, yes, okie dokie. So this is travelling from Manchester to Palma de Mallorca, whatever. It's travelling at 35,000 feet. I think that's the aircraft. Yeah, it's the right one, yeah. So yes, this is it, as a commercial airline that's given off. It looks quite funky, look at that. Very colourful plane. So yes, that is the aircraft. So it is at the right altitude for trails to form in the sky. There you go. X marks the spot. Ooh, are we gonna have the traily day that I've been looking for beginning of the year? And I mean, I'm talking about like this, like very, very traily. And I haven't really seen it. I haven't seen a lot of trails actually this summer, but nevertheless, keep the eyes to the skies, as one would say. Oh, if you actually look really carefully, it's kind of hard to tell on the camera, but you do have that white haze, pretty much in the same level as this. Look at that. You know, that's quite interesting. Look at that. It does look like some sort of cirrocumulus. It's very strange textures. Yeah, interesting. Cool. Ah, big X. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that trail might have disappeared. You can kind of see it just over there, I think. I can see it in the background. No, I think the clouds are moving very, very slow. And like I said, that's that white blanket that's been slowly making its way up. There's a little bit of a trail there. I don't know, to be honest with you, until I looked at the time lapse. I thought we were going to have a traily morning. Never mind. We'll see what happens. But I can't complain when we've got a nice sky like this. Except for that, it don't really matter anyway. But yeah, look at that, sun's out. Whee! Oh look. Trails are still forming. But remember when I said, look at that white blanket now. That's slowly making its way up to my area. It's taking its sweet ass time. But look, check this out. Look, this is called, from my memory, which is extremely bad by the way. I think this is called altocumulus. No, cirrocumulus. Altocumulus is this, the stripy effect, and the bubbly effect, which we're seeing here, I'll zoom in, is called cirrocumulus. Ah, see? Really interested to see the time lapse on this one. In fact, I'll play it now just to see it approaching. And it's taking its time, I have to admit. I'm editing videos at the moment. But yeah, we have trails with next to the white blanket of cirrocumulus. There we go. Look at that. It's gone a bit cirrusy in that area. It's quite interesting. It's all a bit chaotic, isn't it? Awesome. Beautiful. I've been fascinated by clouds this year. How they form, different types of clouds. Does trails form where the clouds are? It's been really interesting. It's been looking at, oh, amazing. Oh, yes. Perfect. Look at that. You, my old cock, are too low to give off a persistent trail. I'm going to track that bastard plane. I shouldn't swear, sorry. That's too low. Oh, actually, no, it's coming in with the, no, actually, think about it. That there, which is just cut through, is at the same altitude as cirrocumulus. You can see, if I zoom in, like that, it's sort of, sorry, the sun's in my eyes at the moment. See where it's all cut through. Awesome. Alright, well, where are you two, mate? Where are you two? There you are. He's going towards London. I guarantee it. Shall I check? Right, that aircraft is going from Washington to London, yes, and you can see it had the blue under thing underneath it. Right, let's get out of that. And yeah, that is the aircraft right there. It's travelling, well, it would have been around about 22,000 feet whilst it cut through that cloud. Too low, actually, come to think about it. In a minute, it didn't give off a trail, which kind of makes sense because the cirrocumulus, I think, is a lot lower than 20,000 feet, might be wrong than that. I might be wrong on that one. I'm just going to show you the outcome. That's what it did. It cut through, but didn't go off a trail. It looked like it did, actually. It looked like it did. Right, so far, look. Well, see? Thin, wispy trail. And we have a bit of cirrus with... They're not UAPs, they're birds, by the way. Did I say UAP? Nick, come on. UFO, for Christ's sake. With the white blanket. It's making its way up, slowly, but surely. Right, I'm going to give it a bit of time. I'll pop back in a bit. Alright, short time has passed. And look at that now. Alright, well, first things first, let's look at this trail. Big, big trail. But the overall outcome so far, it's become very thin, isn't it? Very, very thin. And it's the same with that trail at the back there. And it's still in the mix of this cirrocumulus. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see. Look how bubbly it is. Look at that. So there we go. But so far, yes, we have the trail still forming, but it's not rampant, just small bits and places, really. There we go. Right. Well, it's still early. What time is it? It's coming up to like just past 10 past 10 in the morning. So we've still got a fair few hours. Bear in mind, it's getting quite dark earlier now. Now it's approaching autumn. We're middle of September now, so yeah. It's I'm definitely feeling it. I'm in a t-shirt and I'm sort of shivering a little bit. Yeah. Right. Pop back in a bit. Perfect. Just captured it just in time. Let's have a look. Oh, it's definitely gone through. So right, it's made that. Look at that alto cumulus right there. We've got another trail, and we have a cirrus, whispery cirrus. Look at that. Oh, it's actually cut through. Look at that. It's actually cut through the cloud. So this is obviously part of cirrus. Now we can see it. Remember what I said in my previous parts? So many times, reoccurring thing. You find cirrus, you find trails. You find cirrus, you find trails. You find cirrus, you find trails. It's such a reoccurring thing. And look at that, it's actually cast a shadow. Look. How interesting. Obviously that's due to the perspective of the sun, where it is over there, which casts a shadow of the trail on the cloud. Or it's actually just probably cut through, actually. My mistake. Derp. Don't judge, I'm still learning. But yeah, that is alto cumulus, 100%. I mean, another thing is, like, if that was to do with HARP, I mean, it's only a very small portion. What's that to do? Manipulate the weather, is it? Just thinking. Ask some questions. It's okay to ask questions, okay? But some people get, funny when you do. A bit like the flat earthers. And I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, chemtrail believers are exactly the same mentality as flat earthers. Trust me, I've been in this community for nearly 20 years, guys, since 2007. A long time. And you learn a thing or two. Especially in communities and people. Observe what people are saying. Oh, look at that, I got a sundog. Ah. See that in the sky? Well, one would say, oh, that's to do with the chem in the sky, with all the toxic material and all that. I'm like, oh, please stop with that nonsense. I'm sorry. I was just, if this has been going on a long period of time, every single bloody person on this planet will have cancer. They're pointing at trails and going, oh, that's toxic poison. It's just, well, I'm in a clean bill of health. Touch wood. I'm out in it. I'm a gardener, for Christ's sake. I'm the one that's going to get the full brunt of it. I'm outside every single day. So why are these trails affecting me? Do you understand? It's like, I just find it very, very frustrating that these are grown adults not really having a realistic perspective. Actually, come to think about it, Like for instance, they see that, be like, oh, that's to do with the toxic chemicals. Like, well, actually, come to think about it, what I've observed in the sky, I can see all this like white haze. So obviously you will say, oh, that's to do with the trails. Well, the trails spread out look like that, all bubbly. Okay, let's see, we've got a trail in the sky that's all stretched out. Yeah, look, that's stretched out just about. See how bubbly it is? You know, but this white haze is a natural cloud. And this, what we've seen in the sky, is called cirrostratus. I know that because I can go back through loads of books and can see it started to form a 22-degree halo around the sun, right there. Well, there's only like probably half of it, which I can still find in a book. So I say, okay, is this sprayed on purpose? For what purpose? To block out the sun? It's for toxic poison. Well, I'm still here, you're still here, my nan's still here, and she's flipping going up to like 90 years old, for Christ's sake. Yeah, it's a contrail. So there we go. So yeah, a little bit of a altocumulus. A bit of altocumulus right there. With cirrus, with trails, with a bit of white haze. So you got a bit of a mixed bag today, isn't it? Look at that. And this is what it looks like so far. Now look at the trails that are spread out. It's very, very important for you to analyse the difference between cirrus and trails being spread out. Now the percentage is too low. It's 20% lower than it should be. But look at the trails. They're getting quite thick actually, in some certain areas. But we also have the cirrus in the mix as well. It's actually going a bit altocumulously. So we had cirrocumulus, altocumulus, cirrus. So we've got the whole shebang here. So remember the wispy effects? I'm going to put some photographs on the screen now so you can see. We've got some cirrus. So remember when I said you find cirrus, you're going to find trails. And right there you can see that white haze. That stretchy white haze, see that? There we go. Pull some photographs up for you. This cumulus cloud is about to come into fruition, so just to show you that this is a natural cloud, and it's the same with this as well. Oh look, it's like giving off a striking effect. It's interesting, isn't it? Huh. So yeah. There we go so far. An interesting morning. It's one I haven't seen in maybe about 3 weeks. Nearly a month, not joking. There we go. Awesome. Oh, just missed it. It just went through the cloud there. But no, it made that small little trail. A bit like that one there. Oh, look at that. That's quite interesting. It's quite big and lengthy, isn't it? Huh. Okay, cool. Right, we've got a really interesting morning today. I love days like this. I love looking at clouds. I'm sad. I'm not lonely. Yeah, check this out. Bit traily in that area there. It's like a checkerboard pattern. Right, check this out. Right, just another thing. See that aircraft? It's just given off a very small persistent trail right there. And there's another one that's made a small trail. So we get little pockets, little bits that are persistent in the sky. So let's see if that aircraft is at the right altitude. This aircraft right here is travelling from Liverpool to Malaga. Don't judge. And it's travelling at 34,000 feet. That should give off a persistent trail, isn't it? Because it's above the altitude. So, why are some given a persistent trail and some ain't? So maybe one explanation, I mean, look, I'm not a scientist or meteorologist, just wanted to say, look, it's just like pockets of moisture in the atmosphere. Check this out. So we're still having trails in the sky. Very, very small. But, oh, damn it, it's my cat. But check this out, look. The plane has flown through this cirrocumulus. Let's put some photographs of some cirrocumulus. All the bubbly cloud, I think. But look what it's done. Isn't that awesome? Thumbnail. And yeah, I got a few trails. We've got some bits of cirrus. That's awesome. Just a bit close up. Look. Great. I've returned once again. Check this out over here. Look, that sort of is like cross-threaded. Like there's one bit going that way, another bit going like that. I don't know if it's just my eyes, probably. But I put a photograph on the screen so you can see. Actually, it might have happened before. Is it like a kind of? I have seen it before. It's on one of my time lapse somewhere. But nevertheless, let's look at the sky. What have we got at the moment? We've still got that bubbly cloud. The alto cumulus, but it's starting to get dominated by this white haze. You kind of see it there, pretty much there, and also we've got the cumulus coming in as well. So yeah, it's been a really interesting morning, fascinating, different types of clouds, all different textures and contrasts. Love it, awesome. Right, I'll put back in a short time. Right, I am back. It's been about an hour or so, and because what we do, we'll do an overall conclusion at the end of the video. It should probably be like 5 minutes for you, but it'll be like another 9 hours for me. But yeah, we gotta go trail. It's all sort of fit it out a little bit. Oh god. Yeah. So there's still been in the sky, but we do have that white haze as well. That's cirrus. Here we go. Trails are still forming. But it's not blocking out the sun though, is it? We just got one big lengthy trail. In fact, the ones that are spread out, I think they've gone off in the distance, but you can kind of see one there actually. But they're very, very thin. Very thin. Becoming very see-through. And I'm currently squinting my eyes right across that trail. Look, that's bang, straight in the middle. Look at that, that's a thumbnail, my friend. Hold on. Thumbnail. So yeah, there we go. Right, I am back on windy.com. And let's have a little look at the humidity so far at the level, what I'm seeing here, 30,000 feet. So, what I can see here so far is that the humidity is about, looking through my phone, it'll probably look a bit different on the PC, around about 50% to 60%. It's too low. So why are trails forming and spreading out when the percentage of humidity is low? Because remember when I said the percentage needs to be above 70% according to ChatGPT. Some say 100%, but it's around about 50%. It's 20% lower than the given take of how trails are supposed to form according to mainstream. So once again, just done analysis, looked into the humidity, if we're saying that this app is actually correct or not, and the trails are forming in the sky, just like now. But just to show you that I will go through the humidity and say, look, the mainstream on this one is wrong. More than a few hours have gone past. It's coming up to around about 8 o'clock. I look at it now, it's getting quite dark for this time as we're approaching autumn. And it's just going to get darker and darker throughout the weeks to come. Nevertheless, the skies today was a mixed bag, so I think, like we always do, is that we need to check the time lapse And let's check the satellite and see what these trails are doing. Let's check out the time lapse for the 16th of September 2025. My God, isn't it flying through the year? Normally, when it hits like middle September, it flies to Christmas time, doesn't it? So, nevertheless, let's put this a bit bigger. And I want to see what these trails actually do. Let's do this. And it's primarily in the morning. In fact, all the way up to like lunchtime, you start to see the trails in the sky. So this is early in the morning. I tell that the sun is rising. I think at this point, round about 9 o'clock or just after 9 a.m., start to see the trails forming in the sky. Now, how the camera will actually capture all of it, we'll see. But it was mostly that white cirrocumulus that started to approach. You should see some trails forming, approaching quite soon. So remember what I said. You will always find trails forming. Look, a couple of trails. And sometimes they get a bit bigger, and then you will see the big white blanket come into fruition. There you go. You can kind of see it right there. Would we see any trails forming in this wake as this approaching mass is coming? There's one trail there. So that's that white blanket coming. Here's another trail. Here we go. See? They're very faint, but you will see them in the sky. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. Right bang in the center. Look at that. I have to go back again. Watch that. Perfect. Now, bear in mind that this trail, the overall outcome might not be as thick. I mean, when I'm talking about when it's actually spread out, would it be thick enough to actually block out the sun? And look at the contrast of it. It doesn't seem to be. Also, I noticed, check this out. We've got one trail being formed. Now, that might be traveling at an altitude like I was tracking the aircraft. Not too sure this one specifically was over 30,000 feet, around about 32, 35,000 feet, which is cruising altitude. But you have a look here, you got another one that comes across the screen there. See it? There. Now, is that at the same altitude as this? This is the other thing, is you don't really know until you actually track the aircraft. But if we're presuming that this trail is being formed at the same altitude as this aircraft is traveling at, why not it giving off a persistent trail when it's in pretty much in the wake of the area, isn't it? When you look at it, I think you can kind of see there it is. That's the trail, the last bit, the beginning of it, and that's that X that I saw in the sky. So yeah, I always ask questions like that, and I always try to figure out how does pocket of humidity take in consideration in the sky. Is it like little bits and pieces? Is it widespread? It's a tricky one, really, because you would have thought like the whole outcome of the sky would be humidity, isn't it? Really, I just noticed something. Look at that. There's something quite striking. Look at that. I think it might be due to the camera. That's a camera effect. Oh, dear. But there we go. That's that white blanket with the cirrus. And it does produce like this white haze. And you can clearly see it in the time lapse. And yes, you do have trails forming. But look, guys. When that's spread out completely, even double the size, it's not really going to block out the sun. It's not thick enough. It's very, very thin, even for that stage already. And it's in the mix of that cirrus, that white blanket. Just had a knock on the door and I paused there. Look at that. Just caught a fly right in a perfect position. Look at that. Right, let's continue. Let's have a look. There we go. Cirrus with trowels. In fact, I'm going to hit pause. I'm going to put a photograph right here from the 1980s that show a trowel right bang in the center of a cirrus. See, it's the same thing. I keep seeing the same thing. So, in one idea, in one sense, it's nothing new. There we go. Again, cirrus with trowels. And that's that strange. It does look strange, I have to admit. Even my mum sent me a photograph of this. It's mostly this bit here. And you can see it's actually forming naturally. If you just go back and have a look at this area where my cursor is. Actually, we'll go back even more. This area here, you can see it actually grow in intensity. Look. See? So I think we're still the morning at this point. And I know when the sun comes to where the tree is, it's coming up to like lunchtime. There it is. And that's the halo around the sun because, like I said, Cirrus stratus is what's causing this like white blanket, like this white veil you can see. In fact, you can see in some areas, like right here, the cloud forming naturally in one area. And we have the 22-degree halo, and this is where it gets a bit chaotic. Okay, let's pause. Cirrus, trowels. Loads of cirrus, in fact. And what I should have done at this point was to check the humidity to see whether or not it actually increased. And I'll do that for the next time. But once again, we have the trails forming. Look, what's interesting about this altocumulus, that's the stripy effect. It's quite interesting. It's a lot of people, well, I say a lot of people, the people in the chemtrail community would say that's to do with HARP clouds. Well, in all honesty, it's just it's such a very small portion, but it didn't really affect the weather in terms of making it bad. It's such a very small portion in the atmosphere. There you go, the halo around the sun. Huh, that's the line that would cut through the cloud. Got it right there. Look at that. Perfect. So it's showing the multi-layers of clouds. So we've got the cumulus, we've got the cirro cumulus at the back here with the cirrus. It's quite interesting. So it's a bit chaotic. Wow, look at that. I'm going to go back. I had to change the camera's position purely because I had to cut the lawn. I want to go back again. Yeah, I wish I kept it in one place because you can just about see it change. Look at that. That's interesting. What time was this? I think this was around about 1 o'clock. Back to the normal position. Yeah, I can tell by the sun. So yeah, 1 o'clock, 2-ish, I would say. Look at the clouds. Look at that. I'm talking about the high altitude clouds where the trails are forming. In fact, if you have a look, proper look, you can see the trails are actually lower than this ripple effect, which we'll call cirrocumulus. Look at that area there. It's just forming in one area. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at the The effect is, I noticed with this types of cloud, this is really interesting because I haven't seen this in quite a while. The clouds are so chaotic, and you've got a mixture of clouds here from different types of level of atmospheres. And this one right here, this is the very, very high altitude ice crystal clouds, and which can create this like rainbow effect around the actual sun itself. But just have a look how things get bigger and spread out and gets a bit more thicker. I find it really interesting. Look at that. That's amazing. And this is what's called cirrocumulus. Sorry, cirrostratus. And this is what creates the halo around the sun. And this is a sign of change of weather. It can be. So there are just a few trails being formed. Right here, there's one previously. There's another one there. And once again, it's a very reoccurring thing, guys. These trails are very, very thin. Every single trail has been thin and pretty much see-through. It's not enough to block out the sun. And this is what we've been seeing for the whole day. If I'm going by what the chemtrail people are saying about this has been sprayed not to block out the sun, because this ain't going to block out the sun at all. It's too thin, it's too whispery. But every single trail is exactly the same consistency and thickness. And I'd be damned to say it's poison. There we go. Same thing again. Thin, whispery trails. Huh, that's interesting. Look at that. Check this out. This is interesting. Look, you see a trail being formed there, and this one here like overlaps this one. Look. Is that something to do with the sun? No, that's a trail. Yeah, so it's two different atmospheres or two levels of atmospheres. You see this again? Yeah. Okay. Well, one can say, well, that's really to block out the sun right here. But again, this is coming up to the evening. And there's definitely more trails in the sky. You can see it spread out. I should have really checked the humidity on that time of the day. So there's a fair few trails, but again, very thin and whispery. In fact, this cumulus, well, ultracumulus, would do a more sufficient job to actually block out the sun. So there we go, the 22-degree halo with this cirro stratus, which is the same altitude as where the trails are forming. So this is why you're seeing trails in the wake. And there's plenty of photographs of that for the past decades, I should say. So once again, trails are still being formed in the sky, but is in the mix of this cirrostratus, which is a sign of moisture and humidity. And this is why I should have checked it, because this is another reoccurring thing I keep on seeing. You find cirrus, you find trails, you find cirrostratus, you're going to find trails in the wake. I just keep seeing it over and over. I keep repeating the same thing over and over again. It's just what I'm observing in the sky. But again, the trails of exactly the same consistency. They're not big and thick. They're not like this. They're not like what I'm seeing, trail after trail after trail after trail. And bear in mind, this is the evening. They're very, very thin and whispery. Look at that. It's actually made a double halo. At this time, I think I might have been in boot camp, so I didn't actually have the chance to observe that. But I do have a photograph of the double rainbow or double halo around the sun. Okay, right. Another thing, the evening. Always see trails in the evening. Let's just skip ahead. Okay. And eventually we just have this cumulus. And coming into nighttime. Right, last but not least, we're going to look through the satellite itself. I think that's quite important to observe what these trails are actually doing. So let's go back to the 16th. Let's go all the way to around nearly 6:30, 20 past 6 in the morning. I want to focus on this attention here. Well, in fact, let's just pay attention to the whole UK, as the program has already started. We're talking about the geoengineering program, and let's observe. Let's see. I think most likely what came into fruition over the UK, especially like the ripple effects in the sky, can be contributed to all this right here. You can actually see it right at this moment. But it's mostly the trails I want to see. Let's just go back a bit. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is 9:30. And now the trails were pretty much being persisted in the sky. So let's just check the overall landscape of England. No, just that ripple effect. The strange high out. Well, it's not really strange. It's just high altitude clouds. And yeah, once again, you can see it right there. See the white haze, and in fact, this whole area right here is, you can't see any trails whatsoever. 3 o'clock. Yeah, this is where it was all a bit chaotic in the sky. But look at that massive amount of cloud right here. That's coming in towards England. Look at that. So, in one respect, it's kind of hard to see the trails. In fact, if we go back a little bit, you can kind of see them over here. Yeah, you can't really see much trails. You can see them, just a few of them, but it's in the mix of this white haze. And this is going to block out the sun more than anything. Obviously, it's coming to nighttime now. But once again, let's just go all the way back. Yeah, you can't really see any trails whatsoever. You just have this ripple effect, which obviously people in that community would say is to do with HARP. But this is the day after, and it's actually quite nice today. Yeah, looking out the window is pretty nice. So yeah, there we go. Oh, don't worry, I'm not finished. Let's pop onto the page, the Chemtrail UK page, and let's see what else was happening in the country. Obviously, we had that white blanket that was piercing the landscape. But nevertheless, let's have a look to see what other people are saying. Midway yesterday afternoon, they woke up with 4-grade toxicity. Well, while you're in it, mate, this is the other thing. Did you hold your breath when you took that video? So this is 17 hours ago. Scumbags. But did it block out the sun, though? This is the other thing. Yeah, I would agree. In terms of what's been sprayed in the sky, look, I'm not denying that there are different sort of chemicals in the trails in the sky, but it's tracking it. And do you have any proof of that? Because it's one thing pointing up into the sky and saying that's toxic poison. It's like, well, where'd you get your evidence from? Well, Dane Wigington from geoengineeringwatch.com, he did a test and he found out there were heavy metals. I'm like, yeah, but that's one test out of how many countries around the world? It might be happening in that specific area in America, but what about England? Where's the testing done on here? And this is it. It's just people pointing at clouds and going, that's toxic chemicals, or even like trails in the sky. And it's a very regurgitating points of like buzzwords, basically. Yes, and you see the date here, Tuesday the 16th of September. What can you notice right here? What you've learned so far, what I've been presenting, 35 shows I've done on this. You got the white haze and you got the trails, and you keep seeing it, the trails next to the white haze, and even in the mix of the white haze. And I saw that in the video. So this is another recurring thing, and it could be sprayed, but look, you just don't really know whether or not it's going to block out the sun or not. You've got so much different types of clouds here. Oh, here's another one. Check this out. Look at this. Watched them over the last 3 hours. It's disgusting. Anyone who doesn't believe it must be blind. It was blue, and they literally crisscrossed continuously till they all spread like this. Murky skies, rats. They need pest control. Also, right, this here. What did you see in my time lapse video? What exactly did you see in this time lapse video? That you saw a massive amount of natural cloud being formed. Big stretchy cloud like this. In terms of what's been sprayed in the sky, I don't see any trails. That's been spread out. Well, another thing needs to be taken consideration. By the time the trails are spread out, it's now gone in the distance, isn't it? So you don't really know the overall outcome of what these trails are actually doing. This is why I go through the satellite. So unfortunately for this lady here, I'm sure she's a lovely lady, but she hasn't done her research. This is no disrespect. It's just she's pointing at something and saying that's to do with trails. And I can tell you for absolutely 100% fact that this is nothing to do with trails. I don't see any trails whatsoever. And when the trails do spread out, it kind of looks like cirrocumulus, in my opinion. Again, not denying chemtrails, but the analysis that I've done, this is what I mean. See, this is what trails do when they spread out. Look. So how does that look like that? Do you see what I mean? I just don't really. These people, like, it's not their fault. It's just they don't believe in science. They don't really want to do research. They just film in the skies and saying this is to do with toxic poison. Again, I'm not denying chemtrails. It's just but people don't know real clouds and natural weather. Again, that's a cirrus cloud. That's a cirrus cloud. It's a natural cloud. I'm sorry. Oh my god. Oh, poor Moria. Oh my dear. It's getting out of hand. Yeah, the comments are getting out of hand, and these videos are. I find it absolutely hilarious. Anyway, I think I've seen enough. So, did the trails block out the sun on the 16th of September 2025? No, it didn't. In fact, if you observe the time lapse video, which you can find on Investigate with Nick 89 and Rumble, if you put in that specific date of the 16th and have a look for yourself, you can see the clouds forming naturally. But again, is it a failed experiment? No, of course not. But and what I would say, knowing about chemtrails for the past 18 years, is that just be very, very careful what information you're consuming. Because the people that are new to the community alone or new to chemtrails just ride along the fear mongering, and they spread that fear mongering through these social media websites, pages, whatever you go to. So just be very careful. And this is coming from a chemtrail believer, by the way, even though I kind of sound like a skeptic, which I'm not. So catch me next time on Investigate with Nick on Rumble or The Cosmic Twilight on YouTube. I'll see you very soon.